Yo, Win Column family, I'm back again. This week we're going to be breaking down the Ravens' deep passing game struggles in hope that I can help some of you guys who have Lamar Jackson on your fantasy team understand what's going on with the lack of big plays and big points, right? Or big scoring weeks from Lamar Jackson. And at the same time, this is affecting their deep play guy, which is Hollywood Brown, right? So one of the things that motivated me to do this video is seeing that some of the people who had to bury their heads in the sand after Lamar's MVP season seem to want to revive the narrative that these issues are based on Lamar not being able to play the quarterback position effectively, which I think is just patently untrue. What this is a microcosm of growing pains, which all players are allowed to have. When you have an MVP season and you break records and you do the amazing things that Lamar Jackson did, everybody on your schedule has just dug through the tape and is trying to figure out how to stop you. And what it has created in 2020 for Lamar Jackson is some negative regression, right? But ultimately, it's growing pains. And I want to break down to you guys the three things that I think are creating or are involved in what these growing pains are. So, number one, it's offensive line changes. There's a multitude of issues on the offensive line. Number one, you have Hall of Fame guard Marshall Yanda retiring, right? And in his place is Tyree Phillips, a rookie. On top of that, we've had Ronnie Stanley being hurt pretty much the majority of the year, right? He's playing through a lot of injuries. Even if he is on the field, he missed week 4. In that game that he missed, DJ Fluker played right tackle, Orlando Brown played left tackle. Just this past week, that very rookie that I just spoke of at right guard, Tyree Phillips, he missed the game. Ben Powers and Patrick McCarry actually both played snaps in that game at right guard. So the offensive line has been inconsistent, hasn't played great, and Lamar hasn't had the same amount of time that he had in 2019 to be able to make some of the throws down the field that the Ravens are trying to complete, okay? Number two, we have to talk about defensive schemes. Look, you have to give defensive credit. As I said in my opening, defenses have been studying the Ravens offense all offseason. And at the end of the day, they have developed some things that I think have been effective and that the Ravens are still learning how to attack. In actuality, Coach John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson himself, and offensive coordinator Greg Roman have said in their press conferences over the last 5 weeks that they don't really know what to expect from the defenses that they play, because you can watch one thing on tape all week long and defenses come out and they play something different against the Ravens. So the coaching staff itself, as well as Lamar Jackson, is still trying to figure out how to attack these defensive schemes. And third, it's all adding up to some inconsistency for Lamar Jackson, right? At the end of the day, though, if you're having growing pains, that's creating growth. And I don't think that this is a situation to panic on. And I'll end the video showing you guys why there is some reason to be optimistic about where the offense can go from here as far as the deep passing game, which I think will be what creates a better fantasy football season for Lamar in 2020. Listen, the running, I don't think that it's coming back, okay? I think the Ravens want to be a legit passing offense, okay? And I think for sure that that's what Lamar wants, and he's showing a lot of ability to do that. So I would say forget about the idea that Lamar Jackson is ever going to run for 1,000 yards again. What we really want to see is the development in the passing game and the big plays that can replace some of those, as far as fantasy goes, some of those fantasy points that we became accustomed to Lamar getting with his legs. With that being said, let's start by looking at the offensive line changes and issues that are affecting Lamar Jackson in 2020. So as we talk about some of the issues with the offensive line, the first play I want to show you guys is from week 2 against the Texans. This is going to be a cover 1 with man across. The Texans are going to try to show a blitz, but they're going to back out of it, and we're just going to get a 4-man rush. So pay attention to the safety who drops back into a deep zone, okay? Miles Boykin is going to run a 9 route right up the field, okay? Hollywood Brown is going to flex into the backfield. The Ravens like to use motion to create big plays and get defenses confused, especially motion at the snap, right? But what blows this play up as we talk about offensive line issues, it's actually going to be the fact that Nick Boyle here is going to miss a block on J.J. Watt, right? And when Orlando Brown comes over to try to chip and impede that progress, it's pretty much that the problem is he doesn't really get a hand on him whatsoever, really. So what happens is Lamar doesn't have the opportunity and step into a throw and hit a wide open Miles Boykin here. Watch how J.J. Watt gets upfield immediately, and watch how Lamar has to dodge that in order to be able to make a play. And he ends up throwing to a guy who's open, but that's not who he wanted, because if we slow this play down so that we can get a look at what happens here. Up at the top of your screen, watch Miles Boykin, okay, as he's running his route. He immediately gets open as the corner is flat-footed. But the problem is down at the bottom of your screen, at the same time as that's happening, okay, at the same time as Miles Boykin is getting open up the field, now take a look at how J.J. Watt is not properly chipped. Orlando Brown is not able to recover, pretty much just pushes him, but he gets right up the field. And watch this. Miles Boykin is wide open at this point. If Lamar is able to put the ball anywhere in this area, this is a touchdown because the flow of the play is going in this direction. So that's the direction that the safety is going, who is in deep coverage, right? The safety's eyes are totally in the wrong place. Lamar is looking here to this throw. All he has to do is step into it and make the throw. But the problem is, because of how J.J. Watt is in pursuit so quickly, hardly anybody really touches him, as we said. The problem is, just as Lamar is getting ready to step into this throw, he has to actually avoid the rush instead. And because Lamar has been facing so many of these problems, he's dropping his eyes and looking at the rush a little bit too often, okay, and taking his eyes from, instead of being downfield looking for somewhere to go, he's dropping his eyes looking for a run, or dropping immediately to look for running backs and tight ends. And the big play is just not being made, because the other detail here, when they say things happen fast in the NFL, as soon as Lamar sidesteps, okay, he gets away from that rush. He's stepping up. He wants to throw this ball right now, but guess who? Now we got the safety recovering, okay, and closing what was an open play. So as you can see here, the offensive line has allowed a lot of this in this particular year, right? Especially between weeks 1 to 3. Now the Ravens are 4-1, but for purposes of fantasy, a play like this changes Lamar's fantasy day. That is a big touchdown that never ends up on the board. So before we move on, I want to show you guys another missed opportunity in week 2 against the Texans, okay? We're going to get Willie Snead coming across the formation at the snap, as is customary, right? What we're looking for here is that we're going to have Hollywood Brown run a really nice post corner route on this particular play. The Texans are in cover 3, okay, where the safety is going to drop back into the deep middle of the field. He's going to find himself pretty much in one-on-one coverage against Marquise Brown on this post corner. The problem is the Texans ran a lot of cover 3 against the Ravens when they played them last year, and they got 4 touchdowns hung on them. The issue is that this year we're going to see that, number one, J.J. Watt is on the field, and he wasn't the last time they played the Texans, and that just had a lot to do with the team's struggles. And by now, Ronnie Stanley has been hurt in this game. He's a little bit banged up, and once again, we're going to see a four-man rush affect Lamar, take away this corner route that Hollywood Brown is running. And the biggest issue is Lamar dropping his eyes to look at the rush instead of being able to keep them downfield, step up, and make a big throw. These are issues that all start with the fact that the offensive line has not played well this year, or up to this point definitely had not been. So we're going to get the play action. As you can see, we're already getting penetration. Hollywood Brown is fast as lightning. I mean, just in 1 second, it's like he's halfway up the field, okay? But what happens with that pressure is Lamar watches the guy, right? As soon as he's about to step up into the throw, he realizes he actually has to step back because he has a defender stepping into his face. What does he do? He drops his eyes, and now it's off to the races. This is really unfortunate because we have a wide open Marquise Brown on this particular play. We're going to run it again, and we're going to slow it down at some of these points. So what happens here, right? Lamar wants to step up, and that's the exact moment the defender is spinning into his face. Look at Hollywood Brown at the top of your screen. This is an open guy. This is a big time throw that never happens, right? Let's take a look at it from the end zone angle so that what we can do is see the moment that Lamar Jackson drops his eyes to the rush and becomes fixated on that, and it happens about right here. Now he's looking at what's in front of him, and at this point, he doesn't have the ability to keep himself focused on what could be happening downfield. There's also not a lot of routes run, okay, that's going to give him the opportunity to find another guy. This is the kind of play. I'm not going to say this is a one-man route, but it's close to it because that play was designed to go to Hollywood Brown. And the fact that the rush gets there so quickly took away that option for Lamar, and then we have a scramble and a throwaway on what could have been a huge throw. So what we're going to do next is take a look at the Week 3 game against the Chiefs, where we can get an idea of a defensive scheme that has been successful against Lamar, that the Ravens are still trying to figure out how to beat. And I think that there are some opportunities there. Let's take a look at a play that really kind of encapsulates some of the offensive line issues and the defensive scheme issue so that we can get an idea of what we're dealing with here with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens in 2020. So here what I want to do is take my ugly mug off the screen so I can give you guys an opportunity to see how defensive schemes have also been set up to try to make it so that Lamar Jackson does not have the opportunity to get the big plays down the field that teams know that the Ravens want. And the Chiefs are a great team to show you this because they did it so well. What the Chiefs did is that they consistently ran cover 4 schemes where they got the safeties dropping back deep into the middle of the field, right? And they got the corners on deep drops as well. My teleprompter skills are not great. Sorry, guys. But you get what's going on. Underneath, what we're going to get is pretty much just some pretty soft coverage underneath. But the point is that the Chiefs make a point to say, you can have some options underneath, but we're not going to allow you to throw the ball deep. This is going to be something that the Ravens have to figure out this year, how to defeat cover 4 schemes, okay? And especially how to be able to do it when these routes need time to develop downfield and the offensive line is having struggles being able to block just 4-man rushes, because while the Chiefs are going to show a blitz look, like I said, this safety is going to drop out into a cover 4 right here. And we're also going to get one of the linebackers dropping back into a soft coverage. So let's just go ahead and run the play now that that's set up. And you'll get an opportunity to see in this play how the back is going to split out at wide receiver and run a route down the field where he's actually going to beat the corner in that cover 4 coverage. But Lamar just doesn't have time to make this play. So this is a good example of some offensive line issues, as well as the way that teams are scheming against the Ravens to stop the deep passing game. Let's take a look. So as we get the snap here, like I said, we get the linebacker flexing out, we get the safety dropping back, and look how quickly Lamar has to deal with someone in his face. Now, what he does have is he does have an option underneath. But like I said, Lamar, especially in this game, showed a propensity to drop his eyes, kind of look at the rush, and lose his awareness for downfield throws, because we're gonna get J.K. Dobbins here beat the corner up the field. But when Lamar tries to escape this rush, he actually turns his back away in an attempt to escape out of the pocket, so he never gets to see just how open not only J.K. Dobbins is, but he also has the ability to get some yards if he can check it down to his tight end, but he just does not get the chance. Let's go ahead and keep the play going. As you can see, back is turned, right? And this just ends up being a dead play when it's all said and done. And unfortunately, we had some options there, but this is just a team where you have to give the defenses credit. The Chiefs came into this game with that cover 4 scheme, I think, as their game plan on how to be able to stop the big plays, and it was extremely effective. If we watch this play from the end zone angle, what we get is another opportunity just to see how Lamar Jackson feels the rush, okay, wants to escape, ends up on his back, is no longer able to see what's going on downfield. Once he does get his eyes up, it's just too late, and we just get a bad play. Unfortunately, these are the type of things that have been affecting the Ravens offense this particular year. So Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens come into the 2020 season wanting to be more effective in the passing game. They know, just like the rest of the world knows, that Lamar running the ball so much is not going to be the key to success, right? So at the end of the day, you want to do that, but your offensive line is struggling to stop 4-man pressures. You have guys that are playing hurt. You have guys that are missing games. You have guys that are playing out of position. On top of that, you have defenses that have studied you all off season and are being really creative and doing good things to take away some of those big play options that you had success with in 2019. What does that all boil down to is you're going to have some moments of inconsistency. And I'm going to show you guys some of that. But at the same time, what you're going to see is that the opportunities for this Ravens passing game to be able to get some big plays and really get going is there. But it's hard to do that if you don't have a rhythm. And it's hard to establish that rhythm when you have, again, the offensive line issues and you're trying to adjust to defenses on the fly who are constantly changing what they're doing to keep you off balance. Let's take a look at some of that. Okay, so we're back here in week 2 versus Houston, and what you want to keep your eyes on is Hollywood Brown here in the slot, who's going to run a deep out. We're going to get an open guy. We're going to get good protection from the offensive line. Only thing that we're missing is a dot from Lamar Jackson so that this can be a touchdown. Let's take a look. And this is a story of when you're just having an inconsistent, uneven day and an easy touchdown sails on you. Such a shame because everything goes right. We're going to get cover 4. We're going to get cover 4 from the defense, which I'm seeing a lot on tape. We're going to get Hollywood Brown just totally outrunning the coverage because he's just so daggone fast, and we're just going to get a ball that sails. And the better way to actually watch this play is from the end zone angle, because when you just don't have a rhythm, right, you're going to miss these kind of throws. And what happens is Lamar Jackson has the ability to throw the ball from so many different arm angles. And what he does this time is he decides to sidearm it. If I get a release, an over-the-top release with some follow-through, I get a ball that's probably going to get where it's supposed to get. But instead, Lamar just gets a little bit cute with this. He's not in rhythm. He even said after the game that he wished this is a throw that he wished he could have back. And fantasy owners wish that he could have it back as well. Me being someone who has Hollywood Brown in fantasy, I certainly wish he could have it back. So, yeah, that's just simple inconsistency from being off in a game where you're seeing a lot of pass rush, okay? You get a scheme that you're looking for. You get the guy that you're looking for, and the throw just isn't there. I don't want to hear that this guy can't throw the ball or anything silly like that. He's still completing over 60% of his passes. He makes great throws still. but this is just one where when you're having an uneven game, balls are going to sail on you. You have to have a rhythm in this league, right? So we're going to hop back over to week 3 so that we can show you, again, the Chiefs are going to be in their cover 4 look, something that they ran the majority of the game. As I said, the Ravens are still adjusting to the defensive schemes that work a lot. And what Greg Roman dials up here is pretty good. We're going to get a deep post from Mark Andrews. And what that does is that makes the safety have to make a decision in that cover 4. Do I try to take away this tight end, or do I keep my eyes on whatever Hollywood Brown is doing here outside versus the corner? In reality, what's going to happen is Marquise Brown is going to win. So this is one of those positive things that I think going forward, where you get 2 guys. You get Mark Andrews, who's just so fast for his position. You get Hollywood Brown, who's just fast, period. And you make the defense have to make a decision here. We're going to get an offensive line that's going to be able to actually keep some time for Lamar. And what happens? We just get a throw that it doesn't get there. Everything is correct. Everything is what we want it to be, except for the throw. Watch how Tyrann Mathieu chooses to take the tight end. Now he's in no man's land, having to flip his hips and recover against a guy that's just way too fast. This should be a touchdown, okay? But when you're dealing with so much, he was taking so much pressure in this game. He was still trying to figure out, okay, how do I beat this cover 4? They keep taking away the deep ball that I want so bad. Greg Roman dials up something that gets the safety moved away from that deep corner of the field. We get everything that we need to get that big play, and we just get a ball that sails on Lamar. And I'm telling you, in 2019, when Lamar was doing a better job building rhythm because the O-line was playing so well, the defense seemed to never know what was coming. These were easy throws. But when you don't have those 2 elements in sync, when you're getting the kitchen sink thrown at you and your offensive line is struggling, you don't have that rhythm, you miss a throw. This is what's happening. So I'm here to tell you guys who have Lamar Jackson in fantasy to go ahead and ignore the narratives, okay? I heard it from Cowherd. I read a blurb on Roto World that this guy isn't finding his second options, things of that nature. Look, that's the narrative that people want to go with. But in reality, this is still a really, really good young quarterback. He's allowed to have growing pains. And as I said before, with those growing pains will come growth. And I'm here to show you that in week 5, there is a lot of reason to be optimistic. Now, these are going to be plays versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's going to make a lot of people say, well, the Bengals defense sucks, or the Bengals suck, or whatever it may be, right? But you have some of the same elements. The offensive line sometimes allowed free rushers and things of that nature. The Bengals were able to scheme up some things to take away some of the easier throws. But what you had is a calmer Lamar Jackson who was keeping his eyes downfield, focused on his passing options, was not defaulting to dropping his eyes and looking for a place to run where he wasn't trusting his offensive line. His internal clock was not sped up. He was being extremely calm. And some of the plays I'm going to show you aren't all deep play options, or more so one of them especially is not. But what it is reasons to be optimistic that with a lot of easy weeks still on the schedule. I shouldn't say easy in the NFL, but with a lot of matchups against poor defenses still left on the schedule, there's reason to be optimistic that Lamar Jackson can turn around this season and go from outside the top 15 to in the top 10 at the very least. So let's take a look at some of those plays. So like I said, this video is about the deep passing game, but I'm going to show you this short touchdown to Mark Andrews so that we can look at some of the things that is special about Lamar Jackson when he's calm, when he's collected, and he's not allowing the defense to rush him. He's playing at his own pace, and he's being that unorthodox, savvy quarterback that is so dangerous. Take a look at this. We get a free rusher immediately, right? But instead of dropping his eyes and looking at that rusher and looking for somewhere to escape because he isn't trusting his offensive line, right? What we're actually going to get is a calm Lamar Jackson. So we're going to get a pump fake. That gets the defender off his feet, right? And then we're going to get this really unorthodox. He's just going to hold the ball, not pump it, but hold it. And that gets another defender off of his feet and out of the lane to throw so that we can throw a rifle into this window here to Mark Andrews, despite the fact that Miles Boykin is wide open up here. But look, Miles Boykin is always wide open, but Lamar could just care less most of the time. I don't know what that's about. But with that being said, we just get a rifle, right? And I just love this play. I just really love this play because it's so unorthodox to hold that ball like that, and the defender doesn't know what to do about it. As we watch it from the end zone angle, it's just even more fun to watch. We're going to get the rush defender, get him up off of his feet, right? We're going to hold the ball to get another guy off his feet, not knowing what the hell is going on, and then we're going to get a throw to Mark Andrews. That's that really hard to defend, really unorthodox, you just don't know what's coming, almost freestyle kind of football that Lamar Jackson can play that can break down your defensive scheme. It can break down the fact that you have a free rusher. That's the special guy that we're looking for. As more of these kind of things happen, good luck, because it means that Lamar Jackson is going to get back on that train down Fantasy Station, and you're going to be lucky that you built the track for him, right? So again, I just say all this to say I wouldn't panic. You just have to be patient, and you have to remember that we're just 5 weeks into the season. You have to remember that this guy just won MVP, and everybody's trying to figure out how to stop him. And if you allow the narrative out there to build, and if you focus on it, you're going to tell yourself, oh man, everybody's figured Lamar out. He's just a running quarterback. He can't throw the ball. I mean, don't let that get to you. This is a special kid until proven otherwise. So I just want to show you guys one last play in order to go ahead and make my point here about what Lamar Jackson does really well and the reasons for optimism going forward. Because we're going to get a disguised cover 2 look here where we're actually going to get this defender dropping back into a deeper zone. We get the middle defender dropping into the middle of the field, right? We're going to get this guy dropping to this part of the field, and then we're going to get a soft cover 2 coverage underneath. Lamar just does a great job of not allowing himself to be confused by it, staying calm, and finding a guy open who's going to be able to get a 30-yard completion, which is going to end up being Hollywood Brown, but it's also just a special kind of throw that you just don't see often. And just not to forget the fact that the offensive line still didn't play mistake-free football in this game. We're just going to get a 4-man rush, and it's going to bother Lamar, but we're going to just see him step up into a pocket and just be calm and make a play. And I won't do any more horrible drawing. We're just going to go ahead and watch it. Watch this. Right? Cover 2. It doesn't look like cover 2 to start the play. We're just going to sidestep a guy and get the throw out there. And I just love that so much because look how calm Lamar is on this play. We're going to get penetration on that stunt really quick. And because the because the offensive line, I should say, is dealing with some injuries, as I said, in this Bengals game, you had the starting right guard out. The week before, you had Ronnie Stanley out, so you had DJ Fluker at right tackle. You had Orlando Brown at left tackle. Stunts have really been getting to this offense. And on this particular play, it's nothing but the stunt that's just going to create a situation where Lamar is having to rush right in his face. So it's just important based on everything that I was saying. Defensive scheme. you had the Bengals thinking that they had disguised this cover two and they could, get him into a mistake, right? Especially when you get the stunt, because they've been watching the film and the Ravens offensive line has not been dealing with stunts well, right? And they're thinking, Lamar will drop his eyes and he'll just start trying to run if he doesn't know what's going on. But no, that's not what he's going to do. What he's going to do is get a little pump fake. He's going to sidestep the rush. He's going to step into the pocket. He's going to keep his eyes downfield. We get the defender thinking he's going to run. So we go ahead and we get that ball out and we get it to Hollywood Brown, who we know can make a play after the catch. And that's exactly what he does, because he stiff arms a guy and goes for 30 yards. This is the kind of stuff listen to Colin Cowherd and all these fools all you want, but at the end of the day, these are guys whose head had to be buried in the sand, right? Because a lot of what they were saying, Lamar was making irrelevant, and this is something that is happening that I think will begin to happen again this year. Watch it. Pass rush. I'm just going to, boom. Now, look, I tell you this right now. Pat Mahomes makes the same throw, and it's on repeat on highlight reels. This is a guy that's going to his left, throwing across his body, sidearm, slips it between two defenders, and it's on the money to his receiver, who's able to catch it and get 30 yards down the field. So just don't try to tell me that this guy's better at running the football than he is throwing the football. This is why I'm showing you this, just to say it is a combination of everything that was going wrong and Lamar wasn't making the right play. The offensive line allows the defender in his face on the stunt almost immediately. The defense thinks that they have this cover two that looks like cover three, and it's going to confuse Lamar because he loves cover three. So we're going to get him to make a mistake and maybe try to throw a ball down the seam that's not going to be there. Nope. He's going to be calm. He starts, and they say he doesn't go through his progressions. Well, I tell you what, tell me where he's looking when he starts this, when this play starts, right? You see his head to the left. Okay. He's already reading. He sees the safety dropping, right? He gets back over to the left, pump fake. I want to go to Mark Andrews, but you're forcing me out of the pocket. I'm going to stay calm. I'm still looking there. Nope, I don't see anything. Defenders think I'm going to run. They vacate that space. I'm just going to throw the ball. Okay, I'm just going to throw the ball about what is that? About 25 yards, right? On a frozen rope between defenders, rolling to my left, right? And I'm just going to make it look easy. So don't let anybody tell you that this guy is done making plays at the NFL level, big time plays at the NFL level. All we need is for Lamar to continue to settle himself down, okay? Continue to play within himself, continue to get better reading defenses and understanding the ways that teams want to stop him. And as that happens, we may see this year really turn around. If you have owners out there who are really frustrated with Lamar Jackson this year, and you can get a trade going for something really reasonable, I would say go ahead and make that happen, because I would say that Lamar Jackson is going to make a resurgence at some point this year. As I play this play again, as I just stopped to say to you guys, thank you for all the support so far. I love that you guys are liking the videos, you're subscribing, you guys are commenting. I always try to comment back. I'm going to continue to try to help you guys make decisions for your fantasy teams. I hope in this video is helping you to see that, Hollywood Brown, I think, is pretty obviously a hold, that Lamar Jackson is a guy that you're just going to want to be patient with, and that the Ravens offense is just going through the growing pains of doing so well last year. And this is the NFL. Defenses are allowed to figure you out and get better. Young quarterbacks are allowed to struggle and have to figure things out. But this guy, number 8, he isn't in the coffin yet. Trust me, there's more in store. So with that being said, I thank you guys for watching this video. Like and subscribe if you're feeling the vibe that I'm trying to give you guys. Appreciate the support again so much, and I'm out.